All right. So one of the things that I want to do in this video is kind of talk about my plans for the college basketball season as it pertains to betting, and also kind of give a mini preview. So I'm gonna link my Twitter page in the bio, but I'm gonna be posting a bunch of plays on there, and I'm gonna do some videos as well. So what I did over the past 2 years was kind of come up with this model that predicts college basketball scores, and I finally was able to test it about 3/4 of the way through last season, and it actually ended up getting a 58% return, which was pretty good. So what I did, as you can see here, I kind of developed two models. One was kind of a simple, very basic model that I'm sure a lot of people who have tried to develop these models had come up with. And then the next model, I kind of modified that one into something much greater. And I did a lot of twists on it, and I did a lot of things that were more meaningful to than what it had originally was doing. So as you can see, the second model, as I had predicted, because it was more complex, registered about 58% accuracy. And I kind of have written down, and look, it's not a huge sample size. I only got to test it, I was going to test it into the tournament, but obviously we got cut short. So it's, 27 games. It's not a whole lot, but I think 58% return on that, it's not bad. And this, to make it even more, this was very random, a random selection of games. As you can see, they were all done within a relatively short time period. And I wasn't putting any intel into what games I was picking. I was just picking random games. As you can see, I have some, relatively, some mid-majors in here, like Duquesne, St. Bonaventure, etc. So I was picking them randomly. It wasn't something I was consciously doing. And I didn't put any bias into it. I didn't pick games that I thought would end up winning or anything like that. So this model, it obviously can't be done in the beginning of the season because there's just no data. So it's going to need data, but it's going to need significant data. So it's going to have to take about 10, 15 games to really get the data going. But the good thing about this model is that it gets more accurate as the games go on. And the reason it gets more accurate is because the stats that are needed to fill the model, they get more and more fine-tuned for every team as time goes on. And they're going to become more accurate and more, they present more of an embodiment of what those teams are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait 10 to 15 games. I'm still going to give out picks. And I'm going to then share the model picks. And so what I did to kind of also see, hey, does this thing really work? Because 28 games is not a sample size. So what I decided to do was I decided to go back, and I don't have a document for this. I actually did this on pen and paper. Just if you want a picture of this or anything of the scores of the games, you can write a comment or send me an email. And I'll link the Twitter page and the email in the description of the video. So what I did was I went ahead and re-simulated the 2019 tournament. So we already knew the outcome of the tournament, but I didn't look at it. I didn't look at what had happened. We obviously knew who the champion was, or the Final Four was, but all the nooks and crannies of that tournament, I didn't look up. I wanted it to be, a complete surprise as to how accurate this thing was. So I went ahead and plugged in every single game from the 2019 tournament into the model. And so it was 63 total games I put into the model. The model correctly predicted the winner of 52 of 63 games. Now, this is without any strength of schedule correction. If I had adjusted for strength of schedule, which is what I thought about doing for this little experiment I was doing, but I thought, no, let me just do it as I have it and then adjust for strength of schedule later. So see if I need that later. And I actually did. So we're looking at this without any, manipulation, got 82.5% correct, which was way beyond what I could have ever expected it to. So it corrected 82.5% of the games. It would have been higher, quite frankly, if I had adjusted for strength of schedule. It went 16 for 16 in predicting the Sweet 16, 6 for 8 in predicting the Elite 8. It picked 2 out of 4 in the Final Four, and it picked one out of 2 correct for the national title game. However, it did predict correctly that Virginia would win the national title. So overall, these numbers are very pleasing to me. I was very excited about them. And, these games, by the way, that I have here, these were taken, during the season. So you can see some of the scores were quite quite impressive with how close they were. Like this one, Duquesne and St. Bonaventure was pretty, relatively close, and just a couple of some were way off, and I would have never played those games. But like this one, right, Wright State and Kentucky, et cetera, et cetera. But all these. So that's my plan going forward. I'm going to keep posting plays. I have a couple futures. So here's what I have right now. So this is the non-model plays, right? These are things that I'm just going to play within the next couple of days. So here's what I'm doing. I have a couple futures here with Arizona State to win the Pac-12, San Diego State to win the MWC. And so that's what I'm going to do here. And I also have the model record page getting ready to go once the model is good. I'm going to count units and all that stuff. So really, I'm really ready to go for this season. I'm very excited about it. We don't know what's going to happen as pertaining to Corona and everything that could, potentially occur with cancellations and stuff. Every team's going to see it. Every team's going to go through it. So, that's just something we have to be mindful of. So I do want to get into a little tiny bit before we go. I don't want this video to be too long of the rankings, okay? Everything that we're talking about with the rankings for the college basketball season. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of run through the top 25 really quickly, and I'm just going to kind of give you my thoughts on the top 25. First of all, I think Virginia's a little overvalued here. I think Virginia ranked fourth. I quite frankly probably would not have even had them in my top 10, but I understand. These three teams, Gonzaga, Baylor, and Villanova, are the three best teams in the country. You will most likely see at least two of them in the Final Four. Gonzaga, I just posted on my Twitter page today. Earlier this morning, they were plus 950 to win the title. As soon as Andrew Nembhard was giving clearance to play the waivers, they jumped all the way to plus 800, or jumped down at plus 800. And they're probably going to go undefeated in their conference. So with Gonzaga, you probably want to grab that number at plus 800 if you can to win the title, or at least to make the Final Four. They're like plus 120 to make the Final Four, which, look, if you have a decent amount of money on it, it'd be a nice little payout for you because they're that good. As for these others here, Wisconsin's bringing back a lot of experienced guys. I like them. Look, according to offensive efficiency and defensive efficiency, so every year, right, we adjust for these things. We adjust for strength of schedule. And every year, 19 of the past 20 years, 2014 UConn being the outlier, every champion in 19 of the last 20 years has finished either top 20 in offensive efficiency and top 15 in defensive efficiency. So it has to be both. Right. You have to have both in the top 20 offense, in the top 15 defense. If you're out of that, you most likely don't win the title. Every year a team that's won has been in this 19 of the last 20 years, except for that 14 UConn team. So when we start off the season with all these teams, there's only about a handful that have the preseason stats to back this up, and which is about where it will be. It'll dwindle down a little tiny bit, but it'll pretty much stay the same. Gonzaga, right? They're the number one offense, which is not surprising at all. Duke has the most balance in the preseason rankings with 4 offensive efficiency, 6 defensive efficiency. And then you have Gonzaga, Duke, Baylor, Villanova, right? These aren't surprising. Kansas, right? Wisconsin is another one. West Virginia, they're all the way down here, but West Virginia is another one. Texas Tech is another one. And there's one more, I think, and it's Kentucky. And Kentucky is the other one. Where's Kentucky? Here's Kentucky. And Ohio State. Ohio State's just on the cusp. So that's a handful of teams. That's, 9 teams. So, it's going to be, these 9 teams right now are all quote unquote eligible to win the national title. But for now, I could see those numbers dwindling to about 5 or 6. So those are the teams that are most likely to win if you want to throw a futures bet. Another team I like is Arizona State a lot. They're super undervalued. I took them to win the Pac-12 despite UCLA's surgence. So I'm going to end this video here, but I'm going to link my Twitter page as well as my email if you have any questions. I can send you the results of all the games of the 2019 simulated tournament if you'd like to see the scores, if you'd like to see the percentages, how it all turned out. I can easily, no problem, send you those pictures. I wrote it down in a notebook. So I'm going to end the video here, and please follow my Twitter page, follow Game Winning Turnover as a whole, and we're going to produce a lot of content this college basketball season. I think this model is going to do very well, especially in March. So I will see everybody next time.